Misery in Mogadishu. A new round of fighting is now nearly a week old. Hundreds are dead and thousands more are fleeing for their lives. What forces are at work in Somalia? And what can be done to stop the violence? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Jane Dutton. It's some of the worst fighting Somalia's seen in years, with many hundreds dead and injured. 4 months ago, Ethiopian troops helped to topple Islamist forces, and the country's transitional government entered the capital for the first time. Now, though, the rebels are regrouping, and this city is witnessing carnage. They continue to flood into Mogadishu's last working hospital, victims of a week of relentless violence. The very young and the very old are the worst hit casualties. Most are civilians, all are vulnerable. Doctors struggle to cope.
The situation of the hospital is now, it's overcrowded, it's overwhelmed. We have erected tents to accommodate some of the patients.
Outside, the battle rages, with militias and Islamists pitted against Ethiopian-backed government troops. 6 days of fighting have so far seen 1,000 casualties and more than 200 dead. That toll is expected to soar. Terrified residents flee daily with nowhere to go. They're setting up home on Mogadishu's outskirts in makeshift camps like these. More than 320,000 are said to have left the capital since February, Somalia's biggest refugee movement in 16 years of lawlessness. These people are short of food and water, and any basic amenities. Disease is already spreading. But on the streets, the violence shows no signs of stopping. Without an international solution to the bloodshed, the United Nations says catastrophe beckons. Well, joining us now on the phone to tell us more about the situation is a resident in Mogadishu, who we can't name because he fears for his own safety. Sir, thank you very much for joining us. It sounds like living hell in Mogadishu.
Yes, situation is very grave and very critical, and shelling is going on for almost more than 12 hours, because this morning they have started shelling people early morning, that's almost 6 o'clock, and it was going on until the sunset now. What we can say, there are indiscriminate shelling without, consideration to the casualties, the falling people, and all these things.
And do you have any idea where this shelling is coming from?
It comes from a different ways, from strategic positions that the Serbians have taken, like the former custodial corps, the presidential palace, and some other stations inside Mogadishu. So sometimes they are shelling, simultaneously from different directions. And they are using a long-range military artillery, which is not actually suitable to be used in an overcrowded town. There are countless casualties. People are, in the streets sometimes, and many of them don't get, the opportunity to be buried because nobody can go near the shelling area. Today, local media reported that almost 250 people died yesterday and today.
Okay, let's talk about more of those civilians who are caught up in this action. There are reports, as you said, of bodies lying in the street. People can't bury them. But what about those who have survived? Are they able to get to hospitals? And are there any hospitals that are functioning?
Only few hospitals are working in Mogadishu, and those who are working even don't have the capacity and the accommodation to receive the large number of casualties. Many of the people are just, lying outside because there is a shortage of medicine, medical staff, and actually the hospitals themselves are not made to receive such a large number of casualties. Injuries or different scales. Some of them very serious, some of them in a critical situation, some of them maybe slight injuries if there is attendance.
And can you give us a sense what it's like to get bread and milk, for example? Is it a daily dice with death?
Sugar out. There are some areas that nobody can go near to it, and in some area it's not that well concentrated. Some people, who have come from different areas support that. Dead bodies are being thrown from place to place with nobody to attend them. And there are large number of displacement, and those who fled Mogadishu because of the war have simply, sought refuge and peace outside the city without accommodation, shelter, food, medicine, and all these things. Even those who are injured, cannot reach the hospitals regardless whether there is medicine or not. Because sometimes you don't get, the road that may get you through to the hospital. You don't get that road because there are some shelling. For example, yesterday, which was worse, it was very difficult how to get transport. So sometimes you have to walk for 1 hour to get, transport. And yesterday it was almost, transportation, all the sealed yesterday. Today maybe there are some lines functioning, And these shelling actually, are falling on residential quarters, schools, commercial sites, road and infrastructure, destroying everything possible. Because this ultimately is not, designed to be fought in a city overcrowded to such a level. So the situation is quite very awful, and I never understand how these things can remain without, attendance by the international community.
Okay, well, that's what we're going to try and find out after the break. Sir, thank you very much for taking the time out to talk to us. We'd obviously like to apologise for the sound quality there, but as you may understand, phone lines out of Somalia are tenuous at the best these days. Well, Somalia has seen no functioning government or real stability since rival clans overthrew the then president in 1991, plunging it into tribal warfare. Nicole Johnson looks back on 16 years of chaos.
Under the cover of night, US Marines land in Somalia. It's 1992, and their mission is to restore order to a lawless land on the edge of Africa. They failed. Within a year, the Marines withdraw after 2 of their helicopters are shot down in Mogadishu. It's another 10 years of anarchy before a transitional parliament is established. Abdullahi Yusuf becomes president, returning home from exile in Kenya. But last year, the new government floundered, losing its tenuous grip on power and control of the capital to the Union of Islamic Courts. Under its control, some Somalians were relieved to see a semblance of order in the country, while others feared the group's hardline elements. However, its reign was short-lived. By the end of last year, government troops, backed by Ethiopia, went to war with the Islamic courts. Thousands of Somalians demonstrated, outraged that Ethiopian soldiers were in their country.
This is an uprising on the streets of Somalia. You can see the Somalian people are swearing they won't let the Ethiopians occupy the country. This is the beginning of the Somali Intifada.
Hundreds were killed on both sides. The Islamic courts gave up their last stronghold, Kismayo, but vowed they'd be back. The government pleaded the international community to intervene.
I'm also appealing to the international community and the aid agencies to immediately provide support to those displaced, to those destroyed victims of the regions affected by the war.
African Union forces responded, but true to their word, the Islamic courts fighters are back, and control of Somalia is once again a matter of war.
It's time for a break now, but when we come back, we're going to be taking a look at the players involved in making both war and hopefully peace. Stay with us.